Chag Kosher v'Sameach, happy Passover. I'm Dr. Rabbi Larry Hirsch. Stay tuned for Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom, welcome to TAPED with Rabbi Doug. Glad to have you with us. And I'm also glad to have back from the land of Israel, from Eretz Yisrael, Dr. Rabbi Larry Hirsch. Welcome back to the show. We haven't seen you in a few months, and we always look forward to your visits to Chicago. It is now early spring. Pesach is upon us in just a number of days, and I want to welcome you back here as you come to Chicago to do a little bit of emergency room work and medical work here in the Chicago area before you return to Israel for Pesach, and to visit your mother, which is a big important part of it, who lives in Skokie. What is new, what is going on, and what was the reason for this trip at this time back to Chicago? And we're so glad to have you with us, I want to remind you. Thank you so much for being here.
No, you're welcome. The main issue that brings me back and forth is to do a little work, but you're right, visit family, visit my mother. And what's new? Oh, there's always stuff new in Israel.
I know you have a lot of stuff going on in Israel, and holiday time coming for spring, and the changes in COVID in Israel. It's like a roller coaster in Israel, up and down. Now with the Omicron variant mellowing out, yet numbers I just heard recently are going up again. Where here in Illinois, in the Chicago area, they're way down. But there's this variant of the variant, I guess you could say. What's going on with that in Israel, and how are they dealing with it? Because tourism is open again.
Yeah, thank God tourism's open again. I mean, it should have been open for the last 9 months, and I think we've talked about that before.
We did.
It was a terrible mistake by inept, inexperienced Minister of Health, who's a journalist. Obviously, neither he nor the Prime Minister wanted to be blamed for an upsurge of COVID. We had, when they came into office, actually, Netanyahu had just announced the beginning of June last year he's opening up tourism for the July and onward. The numbers were simply not in favor of closing the airport, which immediately Horowitz, who is the Minister of Health, and Prime Minister Bennett, immediately said they're going to study the problem. Through July last year, 0.25% of the people getting off airplanes were positive, where in Israel it started at 6% and it got worse, 6%, and upward. Finally, by the beginning of August it was 6%, and by the end of August it was 13% of the people in Israel were positive. So what's that compared to 0.25%? It didn't matter. They wanted a scapegoat to blame for ineptitude, and the scapegoat to blame were tourists or travelers. There's a lot of Israelis, thousands, who go back and forth weekly, monthly, to make a living, so there's always people coming to the airport. Blame them for ineptitude. What happened was a big surge last August, September, and half of October, and that was totally preventable because at the time, that surge was 90% of people who were unvaccinated. It caused, the government will not admit it, it caused the collapse of the health system. When you have people in Jerusalem, no hospital beds, so you had to ship people to Tel Aviv, even to Afula, anywhere they can find a hospital bed. That's a collapse of the medical system. They won't admit it. People were dying in ambulances. People were dying in the Gaza hospital. Anybody would admit, because there were so many patients with, at the time, Delta. people were not getting ICU care, they were getting care in regular hospital wards, they were getting care in the hallway. At the time, each time we had a big surge, we usually hit about 1,000 serious patients. So that 2,000 people died after 2,000 people dying January, February, March of a year ago, 2021.
With the original virus.
The original virus, yes, but I think Delta was coming on then too. The problem was Delta, or the nice thing was, and it was used here a lot, CPI was an organization of Haredi women and doctors who organized monoclonal antibodies. The Regeneron monoclonal antibody was used here through the summer, and it could have been used in Israel. It wasn't used at all. The joke was they came up with headlines. In September 21st, after a surge of 7 weeks, we're going to start using monoclonal antibodies, and then 2 days later, the headlines were, we've given it to 17 people. Well, the 12 little Haredi ladies out in Muncie or wherever, CPI, were handling 800 people a day, and the Israeli government was happy that they did 17 people. Now, eventually, we got another surge. What was our fourth surge was this January, February, December, January. December, January. Omicron hit. And again, it was a good excuse to close off the airports. It probably did start by people coming in through the airport, but it was quite obvious by the weekend of Thanksgiving here that the reports were people in South Africa have been getting it. They present with fever and fatigue and no cough. Immediately I knew this is a Hanukkah gift. Because if you don't cough, your lungs aren't being attacked. If your lungs aren't being attacked, the biggest killer in COVID has been lung disease, where the lungs are just left with just total useless scar, and the patient basically dies unless he gets a lung transplant, which is very rare in Israel, pretty rare here too. So we had a fourth surge of Omicron. It was like, I was wondering that first weekend of Hanukkah, this could be a divine gift. Everybody is nice to each other, which Israelis, or maybe not so nice to each other. Maybe we'll all merit that all that'll happen is Omicron will spread all over the place, which it did. It's by and large not a serious disease, but monoclonal antibodies didn't touch it. The only thing that could be done, convalescent serum, blood from people who recovered, which is a very iffy proposition. By and large, though, we had, instead of the other two big killer surges that we had, the January one a year ago and the summer one, each put 1,000 people in the hospital. But this one only lasted, actually it started revving up in December, and it was bad from about January 23rd for about 3.5 weeks. That was it. The others lasted 10, 11 weeks.
Now you're semi-retired. Okay, but I want to know, did you get called in to help because of the big surges?
No, I don't get called in to help. I'm always in the Dasa 2 days a week.
Uh-huh.
So, and this way, by and large, you all know also, Omicron is a very mild disease. Nobody knows why some people get it bad. We had bed one, Hadassah Hospital, first week in January, 48-year-old religious guy, four shots, 4 COVID vaccines, turns positive for Omicron, and it does a number on his lungs. His lungs are very badly scarred, but they're usable. He stayed positive for Omicron all of January, all of February. You checked him, positive all January, February, March, the day of Purim, he finally turned negative. He stayed positive. There's something obviously wrong with the guy. I have my own pet theory. He got Molnupiravir, and what I suspect is he made some sort of mutant. We know he's Omicron, we don't know what subvariant he has, and maybe some subvariant which somehow eluded his probably bad immune system. All I'm saying is, yes, you can get bad disease with Omicron, but despite the fact that we had 1,000 patients again in the hospital, only lasted 3.5 weeks. It wasn't a total collapse of the system like we had. We're down to under 300 serious patients, not 1,000, which Israel can easily handle. That's what's been going on. Yes, because it's handleable now, the tourist season, which should have been opened last July, which Netanyahu had said he's opening up last July, and I don't think it would have mattered much at all.
But when Bennett
anyways.
took over, he ended what Netanyahu had proclaimed.
He said he was gonna.
And
he
finally
was,
got back.
Yeah, he
you
said
know.
he was going to study it, and he studied it for 9 months. Meanwhile, for the Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot tourism, his moron Russian Mr. Lieberman, finance minister, made an announcement that all the tourist people, employees, tour guides and all this, hotel employees staged a sit down for a few hours in front of and closed Ben Gurion Airport right around, I believe it was Sukkot time, for one morning. And the irritated Mr. Lieberman, finance minister, said all the people in the tourism business and the hotel business should go out and do hasavat avodah. They should change their profession. Now, this is the Israeli government that we've got right now. So I think you can understand it's a bad government. It's a callous government.
What do you think of the Israel's response to what's going on with the Russian attack of Ukraine right now?
Okay.
And the Ukrainians, just briefly,
Very simply, Halokim Mevakesh et Hanirdav. Kohelet, I think it's Gimel Yutet. It's very simple. It's a principle that Rav Yitzchak Zilberstein, in his shiur that he gives for doctors, I attended it in the 90s, it's still going on. He's written a 6-volume book, a set on halacha and refuah and medicine. And basically, in his writings about taking care of terrorists, he says, Halokim Mvakeshet HaNirdaf. God will protect and protect the person who is being persecuted, even if the person who is being persecuted is an evil person of Russia, even if he's being persecuted by a tzaddik, a righteous person. So basically, you wanted a nutshell, that's the nutshell. Israel should be going out to help the person who is being terribly persecuted for no good reason, killed and all this. So obviously, Dim Yamyuk and everybody else, I mean, all this nonsense about bringing up what happened in World War II and the Holocaust, and that includes the head of the Yad Vashem in Israel, is an idiot. He said, look, they were evil people in World War II, and therefore, why should we help them?
I've heard this before.
But it's quite obvious if Elohim, Mevakeshet HaNirdaf, then there's no reason that we are not helping. And I think they're helping as best they could. Obviously, the ends don't justify the means. So the fact that we do need Russia right now to help us against Iran in Syria, sometimes you just have to gut it through, and God, you'll give us the means to help ourselves in Syria some other way, even if we don't have great relations with Putin.
Okay, so
we're making a mistake not going further.
Let me just ask you one more thing on this, just to cover this subject. Now, when Ethiopia, Yemen, all these places where Jews were persecuted or surrounded by hate and hunger and danger, we had these airlifts that brought them to Israel for Aliyah. Ukraine is the 5th largest Jewish community in the world. Is there the possibility that, I guess Poland is really the border that they're moving to safety to, that Israel will use Poland and do an airlift to bring in Ukrainian Jews to Israel? And
I know right now
absorb them?
Israel has a field hospital on the Poland-Ukraine border. There's American doctors, Dr. Hart, the father of Rabbi Larry Hirsch, right here in Skokie Valley is out there right now. Dr. Shapiro, a surgeon, is out there with him, volunteering with Israelis. What Israel will do, I don't know.
All right. Let me go to the subject of Passover. Passover is coming up very soon, just days away, and people are preparing. The month of Nisan is upon us. What is this Passover? What significance is this Passover different from other Passovers? Pesach, Me'avdut Lecherut, from slavery to freedom. What do you think in what's going on in the world today is very significant about Pesach this year? And what can you share with us? Because not only are you our medical expert and our Israel political expert, but you are certainly a rabbinic scholar and someone who always shares Torah with me and with us. And what can you say about that this year?
Okay, I mean, in the light of what's going on in the world, I don't know. In the light of what's going on in Israel, because I'm not finished with that, and we will get to Pesach very quickly. What's going on in Israel besides COVID, which right now the number of sick people, like I said, in the surge is 1,000 people, now it's down to 300 people. COVID is almost past history. There's other big issues, and the other big issue is the Arabs, the Israeli Arabs, and the Negev. We've talked in this show about my daughter in a brand new community out in the middle of nowhere. It started in watermelon patches. It's called Carmite. We ran a whole show how it started. Dudu Fisher's son and Army buddies and my daughter mapped to place a new community, it was attacked. It was attacked immediately by Arabs. The first thing that Dudu Fisher's son did was he got a Greensboro, North Carolina couple to donate a shul, and he had a gorgeous, huge shul. It's synagogue. It seats 300 people and can open up to way more in the middle of watermelon fields, and that went up. By 2013 it was up. In 2014 the Arabs rioted all over the country, destroyed the light rail system stations in Jerusalem, and this is, I believe, July 2014, and the Arabs down there rioted again. I mean, in 2014, the front of the shul, all glass, one side, they broke all the glass, they ripped the wiring out the walls, caused $1 million shekel worth of damage. Then, shortly afterwards, the first tractors moved in. Between 2014 and 2016, the first 7-8 people moved in July 2016. But when the first tractors went in, from the first contractors, they were all stolen by Arabs, Bedouin. In the first week, my daughter and son-in-law had security cameras around their house, clearly showed on a Friday night their neighbor's car, Arabs coming out of the nearby Hebron forest. It's at the very edge. It's 15 minutes north of Beersheba. It's right at the edge of the forest that come down from Jerusalem through Hebron. Arabs come out of the forest, put ropes around the neighbor's car, and off it goes. And now, for the last year, it's been nonstop shooting. It's been all over the news in Israel. Nonstop shooting. Kvish 6, the 6th main highway, comes down from the north, runs into this area. There's Chura in one end toward the east. There's Lakia, I believe it is, more towards the west, shooting all the time. And so the people there had enough. About 10 days ago, they organized a Mishmar Mizrahi, citizens guardian group called Hashomrim, wanted to have a kickoff event, got the police to back them. They also formed what they called Sayeret Bar-El. Bar-El, Shmueli was killed at the Gaza border. Arab ran up to the fence, just shot through a peephole, shot Bar-El Shmueli dead. So the plan was set up this guardian group, citizen group to work with the police. The police were backing it. The Arabs, the local municipalities of Arabs, Lakia, Khura, got together, wrote a letter to the Minister of Police, who's a Labor Party hack named Bar-Lev, and they claim it's racist. They're smearing and staining our community of innocent Arabs, and the Ministry of Police said, okay, we're back off. So that's what's going on in Israel. Very difficult to further Jewish, and lastly, Jewish settlement. Dudu Fisher's thing, his son, was to further settlements in the Negev and in the Galil. 2 months ago, there were more lots being sold in Carmite. Originally, my daughter moved in with 250 other people. The army built 150 homes, and now they're selling 400 more lots, or they were sold 2 months ago. Supreme Court said you can't sell lots to only Jews. This is a settlement, a community, a settlement within the Green Lines. Forget settlements that they're only post-67 border places. Within the Green Line, 15 minutes from Beersheba, the Supreme Court said you can't sell only to Jews. 18% of the population is Arab, so you have to have 18%, 73 of the lots were sold to Bedouin, the people who destroyed the shul, or tried to, or did $1 million worth of damage, the people who are constantly thieving. We were there 2 weeks ago on Shabbos. Some lady was saying, we heat they rented a house, they have a yard, and the yard abuts the sidewalk. There's a big tank of, I believe it's kerosene to heat the house. They go, we put in 100 liters of kerosene, it's all gone. So they put in 200, and 2 days later that was all gone. Till it was figured out through the security cameras that the Bedouin are going through the neighborhoods and stealing everybody's kerosene. And the Supreme Court of Israel, in their wisdom, said that they have to put in 73 thieves and now murderers, because Bedouin from Hura, you must have heard last week, Beersheba. Oh, the mayor is going crazy. The assistant mayor of Beersheba is going crazy. We have no security down here, and it's racist now. If they organize their own civil guard, there is deep problems in Israel. Now Pesach, which I left myself 3 minutes. Yes. Okay, so this Shabbos is Parshas Chodesh. New Pesach is all about being new. In fact, new is the theme of the first day of Pesach, because in the morning we bring the Omer, or hopefully we will, temple built, bring the Omer, and you're allowed to eat Chadash, new. Everything about
flour.
Pesach. And this is a Ma'amar from Rav Matis Weinberg. It's all new and fresh, and that's the whole idea why we read Shira Shirim on Pesach. It's the new love.
Song of Songs.
Song of Songs. God and the love for the Jewish people, and the whole idea of being free. Number one, we read a Haggadah which features bringing Bikurim, which is Israel, the land of Israel. The last statement on this segment of Bikurim is Vayvienu Olam Makom Hazeh, going off to Israel. The love story between God and the Jewish people to get the Jews to the land of Israel. The song, even Dayenu, the very simple song, it makes no sense. And this is all Ramatis Weinberg. Why? If God had only taken us out of Egypt, that would have been enough. If he'd only brought us to the sea, that would have been enough. But it wouldn't have been enough. We'd have been slaughtered by the Egyptians if he didn't split it. But the point is, every moment of the Jew's life, we are different, and every moment that we have is precious. And therefore, it's enough if he even got us to this moment, or that moment, or got us to the mount, but not even given us the Torah. That moment itself, precious moments. A Jewish people who are different. The Rambam, when he talks about what do you teach a kid? You don't teach him silly little stories about dam svardeya, blood and frogs. That's nonsense. The Rambam says, if you look in Hilchos Chametz and Matzah, I'm not sure, it's the Perek, maybe Zion, that deals with the Haggadah. You tell this kid, look at that slave. You are not a slave. You are different. Manishtana, you are different. every one of you Jews is precious. Every moment that you live is precious and different and fresh. And you live your life, every one of those moments, with passion and enthusiasm. And that's the message for Pesach.
Wow. Well, we do have a couple of minutes left. What do you think? And by the way, thank you for the Passover words, and want to wish everyone a Chag Kosher V'Sameach, a Happy Pesach. Just going back to Israel right now, what we spoke about is a small segment of the land. Generally, in the cities and where the tourists are, things are generally peaceful. We have a little bit of a recent uprising going on with some stabbings and stuff of some individual. Individual Arabs. Beersheba was the exception, where there was the first time in a bigger city that this has happened in a while. I said in a while in the news. Do you feel like, if people are talking about going to Israel this year, do you feel like they're safe going there?
Yes,
Because
they're
people
safe.
are scared. People are a little scared when they hear these things.
Where things go on are sort of off the beaten path, but it's going on all the time. It was 2 months ago just that 2 Arab clans decided to have West Side Story gang fight right outside the main hospital, Soroka, in Beersheba. This is going on all the time. Last May, we had laud the mixed cities. The Arabs burned synagogues. Jews had to shoot to kill in order to protect themselves and their houses. But in the main tour, the Arabs basically know if they would start up at the main tourist areas, they would be the recipients of the police controlling things violently. In Jerusalem, we've got Sheikh Jarrah, which is Shimon HaTzadik. The Arabs are squatting there, illegal squatters, and our Genmoran Supreme Court is letting them stay there because they're chickens.
Near where I went to Yeshiva, North Sameach.
Right. The Supreme Court does not rule based on law, they rule based on politics. Politics are, you got a weak government who doesn't want to have any trouble, so let thieves and robbers do what they want. Let them steal all the guns they want from the army. Where these Arabs get their guns to shoot in the Negev, all stolen from the army. The Supreme Court said, if you catch them in the act, you can't shoot them. So
Really?
That's what's going on.
Oh boy. Well, listen. Thank God, all the different student programs have resumed, and the teaching of Israel and the flying to Israel and the free trips to Israel for students are resuming.
And they'll be safe. They will not start up at the main, either the Jewish sites, the old city. They will not start up with the baptismal sites. They know better than to pull a stunt like that.
Well, I want to thank you again for being on the show. Thank you for coming back to Chicago. I wish you a safe time back, a trip to Israel when you return, and Chag Kosher V'Sameach to you. Thank all of you for being with us. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com. You can also see former shows on the web. And if you want to email Dr. Rabbi Larry Hirsch or me or us here.
The synagogue in Carmite still needs an air, Tommy.
All right. I'll forward that to him. info@tvrabbi.com is the email address. And thank you all for being with us. Have a happy Pesach, Chag Kosher V'Sameach. Have a safe trip back home, and hope to see you next time right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
You're gonna get married or you're gonna die. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug on the TV tonight.